Before we start the video, I just want to announce about my new initiative for the Seahorse Trust. I'm designing Seahorse merch, mainly t-shirts and hoodies. First one was No Bright Lights Please, which has sold quite successfully to date. And now I've decided to contact designers around the world and see if they'll do limited edition designs for the Seahorse Trust. The first is by Justin Carmack, aka Critter Hunter of YouTube fame. Check out his channel, and he's designed this shirt for us now. It's limited to 100 items, so there's only t-shirts or hoodies. So once we've sold 100, that design is no longer available, and that explains why it's slightly higher priced than the other items. So please help me support the Seahorse Trust and buy some merch. Now let's get into it. Hi, welcome to this week's or last weekend's UAE diving, where for the first time I went over to South Fujairah and dived with the Barracuda Dive Centre, an operation that's based out of the Fujairah International Marine Club. It's about an hour and 15 minutes drive, which is nice. It's about 15 minutes less than going further up the road to Al-Aqsa, so that saves a bit of time. You've got to get there by 7:30 for an 8:30 departure, because they have to register with the Coast Guard and stuff. It was my first time, so I was spot on time. I think you could get there by 8 o'clock if they know you. I had all my gear already rigged up. They took the gear, loaded it onto the boat. And what's great about Fujairah International Marine Club, it's a proper marina, so you're not lugging your stuff through the sand onto the dive boat, and they load the boat for you. You haven't got to carry it yourself. So that was really pleasant. I was diving with my friend Faith, who I call the critter spotter, because she's really good at finding stuff. So the first site we went to was supposed to be Paradise Reef. They missed it a bit, and we ended up on a site equally as nice, I guess, called Purple Garden, because of all the purple soft corals there. The main reason for me wanting to go to Paradise Reef, or as it transpired to Purple Garden, was to film the seahorses there, because I understand there's a population there, and I just wanted to record them and then get them identified. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. They were there, the seahorses, but for some reason the dive centre sent 2 boats of divers to the same site. They're relatively small sites, a lot of photographers there, and by the time I got to the seahorses, I saw 3 of them. I think Faith found me 3. They were completely stressed. How do I know they were stressed? Heads were right down, they were facing away from the diver, and they'd gone dark. Classic signs. And it wasn't the divers' fault, because they don't know. And what I'm going to try and do now, and hopefully the dive centres will accept this initiative, is make up some posters for the dive centres and some stickers for the boats, which just gives a few hints on how not to stress seahorses, because they can get sick from latent diseases which will eventually kill them if they're stressed, or more commonly they'll just move away from the area so you can't find them. And everyone loves diving with a seahorse. There was a young woman on the boat who had seen one for the first time, and her expressions were magical. So yeah, hopefully, I did mean to do that last year and I just didn't get around to it, so I've really got some impetus to do that now. The dive sites were both nice. The first one was 29 meters, beautiful sea. There's like rock ledges, and soft corals have grown on them. As you'll see, quite a lot of marine life around. I particularly like the torpedo rays and stuff, and we had torpedo rays on both sites. The second site was Car Cemetery 2, not to be confused with Car Cemetery up between Corfacan and Al-Aqsa, and it was a nice site. Lots of cars around. Still, you can see the structure of them. There's some other, like a boiler there and things, and again a lot of marine life. And right at the end of the dive, just beneath what I call the boiler, where the mooring line's attached to, we looked underneath the ledge there, and there was a pregnant stingray. And I think it's a marbled stingray. It's covered in sand. The footage isn't brilliant because the viz wasn't fantastic, but you can clearly see she's pregnant. So that's the first time I've ever seen that. So that's a highlight for me. Yeah, so a really good day out. My thanks to Faith for spotting stuff for me. She's much better at it than I am. Yeah, nice first dives out of Barracuda Dive Centre and South Fujairah, as I call it. I did buy a 5-trip or 10 dive pass, so I'm definitely going to go back. We get on to Purple Garden, and the first thing we find, literally straight away, are these torpedo rays. There were a couple of them around, and they just sat there. But what I really liked about the site was all the soft coral, and lots to see. Just going between the corals, there was a pipefish out in the open, just waiting to be filmed. There's a porcupine fish just going between some of the purple corals, after which the site is named. Lots and lots of soft coral. Really pretty sight. All over the place. These soft corals are on ledges, you can see here, an anemone. But they're just, you see the ledges here on the right hand corner at the bottom, and all these soft corals have just attached to them. Really, really pretty sight. And underneath all the ledges, of course, you find lots of fish and stuff. But yeah, just a rock outcrop in the middle of the ocean, really. I don't know what sort of rock or coral this is, but this lionfish was quite happy being there. Another porcupine fish, not too bothered. Then, after that, we went off to Car Cemetery 2, not to be confused with the Car Cemetery further north. And right at the bottom of the line, I think I was the only one who spotted it, was a lobster. And this is what I call the boiler, where the mooring line's attached. And there's cars all around the site. And unlike the other Car Cemetery, they're very intact. Rays, eels, lots and lots of life on this site. Fish galore, really. Again, another mature reef, and the difference between here, it's shallower, of course. It's around 22 meters, if I remember correctly. A lot more fish life on this site. Here's what I call the rail. But yeah, really enjoyable. Look at these fish just sitting there. The viz was a bit better on this dive in many ways. But not at the bottom. We swam around the site, didn't find much macro stuff, but we weren't really looking for that. I don't know what these fish were up to, but there was even parrotfish coming in to have a nibble at this rock. Off in the sand, we went looking, saw a Moses sole. Back to the cars. This eel was out. I don't know what he was looking for. I think this is is it a crocodile fish or alligator fish? Not sure. But here's the grand finale, the pregnant stingray. Never seen one before. Coming up the line, and of course the batfish always come to say hello. All too soon the dive was over, and we headed back to the Barracuda Dive Centre.